Shalom to the hopeful elect of Israel. All praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Kodash. Double honor to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone. This lesson we're going to go into here. Fair use only, fair use only. This is news, so we're just reporting on the news. And it's going to how, it says officials told Trump military could be ready for potential strikes on Iran by Saturday. Okay, sources say Saturday. Today is Thursday, February the 19th. So in the next 3 days can be an upstart to biblical prophecy. All right, biblical prophecy. I want to get Habakkuk. Let's go there first. Habakkuk. Let's get Habakkuk. All right. Because one thing that Christians, these so-called Christians, and Catholicism, and Catholics, and Islam, one thing they can't tell you is prophecy. They won't go into prophecy. They won't tell you what the scriptures are saying is going to happen before it happens, because they either don't believe it or they're paid to not go into it, and they just won't do it. I'm going to go ahead. Let me start at verse 5. I think verse 5 is the best way to start with this one. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5, it says, Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. Who is that proud man? And who is he that's transgressing by wine? Esau Edom. The so-called white man. He's a proud man. Proud to be an American, right? He transgresseth by wine. What is that wine? Isaiah. I'll use this one. Isaiah 29:9. Stay yourselves and wonder. Cry ye out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. For the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and have closed your eyes, the prophets and rulers, the prophets and your rulers, the seers have he covered. Right? With what? Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you, which means to make you useless. When you spoil something, you become useless. All right. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Okay, you have two different sides going on right now. You have the spiritual world and you have the physical world. You have the carnal world, and then you have the spiritual world. Okay, you have two different worlds playing at the same time. Two different realms. If I can get that. If I could get that, how does it go? Is that it? Ephesians 6:12, it says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." All right. And spiritual wickedness, I mean, they're void of spiritual, they're void of spiritual power. You know, they got to use carnal means of exacting authority and power over the world. They can't manifest the spiritual powers. Like Yahweh Shai, he didn't have to use a sword, a blade, or anything to calm the seas. Yahweh Shai calmed the seas with spiritual power. All right. Yahweh Shai moved men with spiritual power. Yahweh Shai disappeared and reappeared through spiritual power. All right. And these are the things that this world really don't know. Now, you got some people that see ghosts and apparitions, and they see spiritual things happening that they can't explain. You see people that they witness UFOs. What is that? You know, a fire, a fire unfolding within itself, a will within a will. They've seen these things, and they can't explain it. The Lord gave them the eye to see, but the majority of the people don't really have a clue of the spiritual things that's going on around them. The majority of the people, if they can't see it, they're not going to believe it. They're not going to, they don't think it's possible. But the Lord controls all these armies, even the physical, especially the physical. In fact, I'm going to get this, okay? Because these people are drunk off the philosophies of their rulers, and they believe that America has a good chance, or is always the right candidate to go to when it comes to justice in the world. But what they're finding out, back to Habakkuk, what they're finding out is that America has lied to the people through her policies, through her traditions. America's main tradition is agree with us or we're going to take you down. They're proud to be an American, right? Habakkuk 2 again, and going back to verse 5, it says, "Yea, also, because he transgressed by wine," right? He get everybody drunk off the wine of Babylon. "Because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell." So he's all over the world. He's not keeping at home. His home is Mount Seir. But he went from Mount Seir, into the lands of the Greeks, so-called, into Europe, he got embassies all around the world, so-called U.S. embassies all around the world, which mean military bases, pretty much. His army is plotted out, is all around the world. That's his sword. He saw Edom, the so-called white man, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. Right? He owns the whole world. He owns all the resources, but he still wants the souls of men. He's turned everybody into a slave practically for $1 bill. You can't, unless you work or come up with some kind of way to make money, you are not going to live. You're not going to be able to have a roof over your head. You're not going to have food, shelter, the means to survive, right? And with all that, with all the control he already has, he wants your soul. He wants to be inside of you and see and know everything that you're doing. He wants to play the part of the Most High. And that goes into 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Continuing, it says, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Okay, the Babylonian experience. The same thing that Nimrod tried to do, the Africans try to do with Babylon. He's doing it right here now. And America is known as Babylon, Babylon the Great. The daughter of Babylon, Babylon the Great. Right? The whore, the mystery whore, Babylon, that's America. And who runs America? the Edomites, the so-called white man, and he heapeth unto him all people. I want to read that over here in the NLT. It says, "Wealth is treacherous, and the arrogant are never at rest. They open their mouth as wide as the grave, and like what you're about to see, right? And like death, they are never satisfied. In their greed, they have gathered up many nations, right, and swallowed many peoples." Okay, that's decent. Swallowed your boy TD Jakes. They've indigested the resources of many nations. Everywhere they go, they pull out their sword and say, "Get down and lay down." Verse 6, though, let's get it. It says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against them?" All these people that's been under the oppressive rule of America, you know. "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay." Because America's been asking for resources from other powerful nations, such as China, such as Iran, such as Russia, you know, and other countries. You know, you got certain countries in Africa that America has, you know, made these deals with, in which they haven't really came back, you know, on their part. All right, they've been because of their pride, because of their power structure, because them heaping unto all people, all the nations, they've been pretty much a bully to all these nations. And give us what you got, and we spare you. Okay, but they're in debt. They're in debt, especially to China. They're in debt. Verse 7, it says, Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them." So that what's happening is the people is waking up. These nations are waking up. You know, they're waking up. They're seeing. They, as it's written, let the weak say we are strong. Right. Once upon a time, these nations were inferior to the military prowess and the power and the strategic, you know, cunningness of America's military power. And now everybody else is pretty much on the same level. They have become strong with the nuclear weapons. We're going to get it. Matter of fact, let me stop talking and let's get a picture of this or a vision of this. Again, fair use only, fair use only. Let's go.
All right, turning now to our other big story this morning. CBS News has exclusively learned the U.S. military could strike Iran as soon as Saturday. However, sources say the timeline for any action could likely go beyond this weekend. CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata joins me from our D.C. bureau to discuss this. Charlie, good morning. So for viewers waking up to this news, which may be jarring to them, give us a bit of a pulse check and a fact check. How close is the U.S. military to taking action?
Yeah, you know, Errol, good point. Like, we don't want to be alarmist here, okay? But so it sounds very dramatic when you say the United States or the U.S. military has presented the White House with these options. That is true. That's what our sources are saying, and they are ready, will be ready by this weekend. Those are facts, as we understand it, from our own sources, our own reporting. Does that mean it's going to happen? Not necessarily. Even the sources that we spoke to. Could happen this weekend, could happen next week, might not happen at all. It's part of what the White House calls a maximum pressure campaign. So you have this massive U.S. military buildup in tandem with the talks that are going on. And when you talk about a massive military buildup, it's big, and this is something that we can't exaggerate. We've got the USS Lincoln aircraft carrier. There are at least 10 warships, mostly destroyers, guided missile cruisers, capable of launching cruise missiles, Tomahawk cruise missiles, and we're talking about dozens on each of those ships. On the way, and we'll probably be there early next week, is the USS Gerald R. Ford, the largest warship in the U.S. fleet, which makes it one of the largest if not the largest, in the world. Where that's important, and to show that this isn't a bluff, the Ford had been dispatched to the Caribbean. It's actually on its second or third extension now. So those decisions aren't taken lightly when you're going to take something that's been at sea since last June and sending it into a potential conflict zone. You're going to have 2 aircraft carriers there, and there are multiple squadrons of F-35 and F-22 fighters that are already there and have been flying around. Open source intelligence will tell us that. They're also refuelers. That's another indicator. You want to have refuelers if you're going to start bombing campaigns in Iran. In addition to that, C-17 cargo ships, there are cargo planes. They're moving around missile defense systems at places like Al Udeid, which is in Qatar, where we have the U.S. forces, and the U.S. forces had come under attack. If you remember last June, after Operation Midnight Hammer, where the United States attacked Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran retaliated there. So when you're looking at this massive...
Midnight Hammer, how ironic. It's a scripture that goes into that, right? Midnight Hammer. That's funny. Jeremiah 50. And if you know anything about, prophecy as far as the wars is coming, Esau Edom, the hammer, America, the hammer of the world, is what this is going into. I'm going to start at verse 20. Jeremiah 50 and 20, it says, "In those days and in that time, saith the Lord, the iniquity of Israel shall be sought for, and there shall be none, and the sins of Judah, and they shall not be found, for I will pardon them whom I reserve." Speaking about the elect of Israel. Verse 21, it says, "Go up against the land of Merathaim, even against it, and against the inhabitants of Pekod, waste and utterly destroy after them, saith the Lord, and do according to all that I have commanded thee." Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Bear with me. All right, thank you. I just check something out real quick. Verse 22, it says, "A sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations?" A desolation, Babylon, speaking about America. Right? America is ramping up its own hatred. If you go to Obadiah, it tells you that those that were once in confederacy with because of her pride. Let's get it. Forget talking. Let's get it. The whole hammer of the earth is America, right? Obadiah. Why don't your Christians go into these factors, these prophecies that's happening? Obadiah 1 and 2, it says, "Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. The pride of thine heart have deceived thee. Thou that dwelleth in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?" That's that pride that we just read about in Habakkuk 2. America think that they're not going to be brought down. All right, verse 4, it says, "Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle," right? What's the bird or the image of the bird of America? The bald eagle, right? The same thing as with the Russians. The same thing as with a lot of these countries out here that's being ran by Esau Edom. The same thing with the Romans. The same thing with the Grecians. A lot of these nations that have been ran by Esau Edom, they exalt themselves as the eagle, because the eagle is one of those birds that can fly the highest, the swiftest. It got the best eyesight. They can see everything, in which they're trying to portray that image or that possibility in the earth with these with surveillance. Not UFOs, with the what they call them, the satellites, right? The satellites, the internet, AI, so on and so forth. All right, I'm gonna jump down to verse 6. It says, "How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up?" Through the scriptures, through the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And he's being called out to his face. Being able to take these political points, everything that you see on TV, and filter them through the scriptures. The Lord has spoken about these things before they even happen. The Lord declared the end from the beginning. And he set up certain men, the prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, to break down through scripture what's really going on before your face. Verse 7, it says, "All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, to the end of your time. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him." All right. Esau, the wisdom that Esau had was it was on the left hand side, as the scriptures say. The wisdom or the knowledge of the wicked is not wisdom at all. Let's get that, because that's all they got is the knowledge of the wicked, in which 2/3 of our people have been duped, have been seduced by that wickedness. Let's see. Yep. Ecclesiastes chapter 19 and verse 22. "The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, because there's no fear of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence." All right, it's not valid. It's not royal. It's not righteous. It's not equitable. It's a lot of selfishness. Can't be satisfied. No accountability. Deception, manipulation, placing the blame on others to make yourself look better. That's what the wicked do. That's the knowledge of wickedness. There's no wisdom. At the end of the day, everybody's gonna sit back and see somebody's not playing right. All you kids in the playground is trying to do things, abide by the rules and respect and have morals and dignity and integrity, so that everybody can get along. But it's this one motherfucker in the playground that's been lying and duping, getting everybody by themselves, having these secret meetings. We can do this, and blah, skippy woo woo. But then after a while, you keep on doing that with everybody. After a while, everybody sit back and look like, "Hey man, he told you the same thing, right?" That's what these nations are doing right now. They saying, "Damn, yeah, America, yeah, they told me the same thing. They said, you was fucking up, and that you had these dictators over there in your land, and they had to come over there and do what they had to do, and yeah, I backed them up." But everybody, he's done that with everybody. That's how stupid the wisdom of the wicked is not wisdom at all. All right. Anyway, I want to go back to this, and we're gonna close out in a minute.
There. So when you're looking at this massive buildup, you always ask the military, what is it for? Because they're very specific about strike packages. Could be limited strikes. They could be preparing for long, drawn-out conflict with Iran. And the top of that priority is the protection of U.S. forces. We also understand that they've started withdrawing some of those U.S. troops in order to reduce the footprint in that region in the Middle East to places like Europe and the United States.
And at the same time, Charlie, the U.S. is touting progress in talks with Iran. They're still waiting, they say, for Tehran to come back with more details. And we spoke with an expert from the Middle East Institute earlier who said that Iran does have significant retaliatory capacity. So the effort is still to avoid this. Give us details on how so.
Yeah, Errol, there's no doubt that Iran can strike back. And most importantly, or the thing that the United States is looking at and Israel is looking at, is their ballistic missile capabilities, because Israel will be in the firing line, as they always are, when something like this happens. And that is a priority for the United States and Israel to take seriously. As far as air defenses, that might be another question, because in the last bombing campaign, Operation Midnight Hammer, that was relatively successful in destroying a lot of Iran's capability in firing down incoming missiles or aircraft.
So you say, all right, but let's go here. Let me see. Will China aid Iran? AI overview: China will likely support Iran through diplomatic, economic, and limited technical means rather than direct military intervention. Beijing views Iran as a strategic partner to counter U.S. influence, but aims to avoid getting directly entangled in conflict, preferring to secure its oil interests and promote regional stability without fighting. And we all know that. Hold on. Let me see. Why y'all want to talk that shit? AI. That's probably the brother. Dang, how did Miss Bro call? Give me 1 minute. AI overview, it says in early 2026, that's this year, China issued strong warnings to the U.S., right, against military action in Iran, right, stating such acts could cause uncontrollable chaos in the Middle East, which is Asia, not the Middle East, and threaten global stability. Beijing cautioned that intervening in Iran violates international law and urges the U.S. to abandon such plans. Okay, what does it mean to be threaten global stability? It's gonna be some military. It's gonna be some military response to your actions. All right, it's gonna be some, it's a warning. You don't give people warning because you're not gonna be military invested in what happens to Iran if they attack Iran. And this guy's talking about that. What this guy's talking about? He's talking about going into Iran and attacking it.
Or aircraft. Now, you talked about talks. Yes, the talks are going ahead. In fact, both sides had talked about progress, and they had given Iran, a matter of a couple of weeks to put together a proposal in order to avoid a military conflict. So that's where we stand right now.
All right, Charlie Daggett on this major event. We'll stay close to your reporting, Charlie. Thank you for.
Yeah. Matthew, chapter 24. Matthew, chapter 24. Let's jump down to verse 6. It Let's get to the point. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. All right? The end is not yet. These rumors of wars and, it's just to keep you on the edge of your seat. But things are ramping up. We're getting closer and closer to the day that Yahweh Shai is going to return, right? And that day is going to be a day of darkness, right? Missiles, ICBM missiles, all over the place. Sedition. A lot of people being grabbed up and put into these detention centers, as you can see more and more, day and day. The government is putting money in these warehouses to get people for a place to put people in, because the prisons are overwhelmed. The fucking prisons are overwhelmed, and the American tax dollars can no longer really sustain all the people that's in prison. So what they're gonna do? We're gonna just take the little money that we got, that we put toward the program of the ICE, and buy out some of these facilities, which people are gonna be starving. There's not gonna be any real care. People gonna be sleeping on floors. This is Jacob's trouble. And there's more scriptures I could go into to back it up, but it's gonna be some hellish conditions coming on the earth. And if you haven't repented, return back to Yahweh Shemi Awashai, calling on those names sincerely, and returning back through faith to the obedience of Yahweh Shemi Awashai, well, I don't know what to tell you. You've wasted the Lord's grace period to do your own bidding. Verse 7 says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Right? And those earthquakes in diverse places, I believe the elder Kazak Ya'ala in Mississippi, from Mississippi, the elder was doing a lesson, and he was doing the camp. They do a Sunday, that's midweek camp. I think they did a midweek camp last night. He was going into it about how you need a earthquake tracker, on your phone, because there's so many earthquakes happening at one time. What does that mean? Diverse places all over the place, all over, diversity, right? If you got a diversity of nations, that's a lot of nations, a lot of different nations in certain places. The Lord said there's going to be earthquakes in diverse places. These earthquakes are happening all around the earth. The earth is sick. The earth is sick. It needs a physician. Yahweh Shai is that physician to cut off that lone disease, which is Esau Edom, who has made the whole world sick. So his kingdom is coming down, man. We are at that time. The last parts, at first verse 8. Let me go to verse 8 first. It says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Okay, all these are the beginning of sorrows. We haven't been through nothing yet. There's going to come a time when they're going to start ramping up. They're going to start gathering people up. They got that list, the FBI list or whatever they call it, the blue, red, yellow, those that are against the system, those that are not going to be conformed to the system, those that are, they straddling the fence, those that might be able to be converted back into this system, and those that happily want to go back into this system. The red, they got different color codes on who's going to be more susceptible to returning to being a part of the Babylonian system, and who's totally against it. And that's what these camps is for. These camps they're going to take you to those camps. They're going to see, what's his name? What's his social security number? Well, what's his history? The cell phones and everything. They already found out who we are. That's why the Lord said, who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? Be faithful unto death, if that's your course. be faithful unto death. But other than that, understand we are in those times of prophecy. With that, I could keep on going because it's going to what I'm saying, right? Verse 9, it says, then shall they deliver you unto to be afflicted, right? And shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. For real. That's pretty much what I just said. Yeah, them detention centers. It says, and then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. Right, yeah, you got your own family members, the people that you living with right now in your crib that know your every move. They're gonna be like, oh, damn, why you tell on me? This system is gonna work for the wicked, but Yahweh Shema Shah is gonna work against this system and those that's involved with it. But if the more you try to help this system out and the people that want to be a part of this wicked system, you're gonna be labeled amongst them. You gotta make a clear separation. You gotta make a clear separation, and you gotta stand on Yahweh Shema Shah. That's the work of faith. How the fuck you gonna be in the world helping people in the world, and you think the Lord gonna look out for you? You can't eat at the table. You can't drink from the cup of devils and the cup of the Lord. You gotta pick a side. You gotta pick a side. Anyway, I'm gonna close out with that. Lord willing, this lesson edifies and hope for that. Again, let's give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Rachakodash, double honor to the elders and apostles with a millstone. Till next time, Kwame Yasharala, Wa Abba Baba.